immigration are really getting tight now. You've heard these stories of what's going on in Phuket. There's a lot of, we won't name the countries, but a lot of influx of people down there, and they've set up these businesses using Thais as a front, but basically they're foreign businesses, and they're there on tourist visas, and they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, or you know, well, I'll just go through a few of the things that are happening, okay? So going back to the first thing that we were talking about, entering Thailand on a visa exemption, or even as a tourist, if you've done it a bunch of times with even an NTV or an STV tourist visa, if you come a lot of times on these as a tourist in general, you're going to be scrutinized at some point if you keep doing it. We don't know at what time, whether it's after 6 times, after 3 times, or maybe this year you come 10 times and next year after 2 times they start scrutinizing you. We have no idea. So what you can do to prepare yourself is have a valid reason to tell the officer why you're coming as a tourist so often. Like maybe you have a girlfriend or a fiance here, okay? Second thing is be able to show proof that you're a legitimate tourist, which means you're gonna have a return or onward flight, and you're gonna have proof of travel funds, which is 20,000 baht or 40,000 per family. And then the last thing is that you've got proof of accommodation. So that's very important that you show. Now, one thing that immigration has started to do that they never did before, and we've had this happen to 4 of our members. A lot of the guys will use one of those booking websites. So they don't pay the full fare, they just pay a booking fee to reserve their onward ticket or return flight back to their home country. But those reservations cannot be verified on the airline's website. So what happens is immigration has started to try to verify those bookings. They'll say, just wait a second. And they'll go back to the computer and they'll go on that airline's website. And if they can't put that booking number in and have it show up, boom. Either they'll refuse you entry or they'll ask you to book another flight. And if you don't have the facility to do that, because maybe your phone has got no internet, right? So that's the first thing that you got to do and you got to be careful of. Second thing is that if you're opening up a company, make sure that you be careful about the Thai nominee shareholder, right? Because what happens is people in Phuket, Pattaya, that, Hua Hin, the touristy areas, they buy these, they open up companies because they want to buy property. And they can't buy property as a foreigner. They can buy condo, but they can't buy a house and property, right? So what they do is they open up a company, they put a nominee Thai shareholder on there, and the government obviously knows about this. And so what they've done is there's often crackdowns on that. So what that means is they'll go check the company out, they'll go check out the law firm that registered that company. And there's been plenty of instances where the law firms have been closed down because they've done like a whole bunch of these nominee companies, right? So that's another issue that is happening, right? And just, back to the old way before, now that tourism's back again, there's a lot of people working illegally. So foreigners are coming to Thailand and, they're either working without the proper visa, without the work permit, or their visa doesn't match. So let's say they got an ED visa, but they're actually working in a company, right? Or they got a volunteer visa, but they're not a volunteer in an NGO or a foundation. They're working in another company, right? So the government is now focusing on these things because tourism is back. And I remember a video that Integrity Legal did a few days ago. And he did a really good video about how Thailand's frame of mind towards foreigners is starting to change. And he does a good video about how the climate kind of has changed here for foreigners.
Well, even I've noticed that because I've been coming here a lot of years.
There's a lot of talk about foreigners coming here behaving badly, and the government is getting a lot of pressure from the citizens to do something about it, right?
And I know there's about 100 people being deported from Phuket. I mean, you watch the news, obviously. And what they're doing, they're opening companies and servicing their people from their own country. which is great because they all speak the same language, but they're putting they're taking business away from the Thais, and obviously the Thais are then reporting it to immigration, and they follow up on it.
Well, that was one of the things. Like, you know, these people are opening up like tour companies, and they're not really supposed to do it, right?
No.
So, you know, that's all great for tourism and all, but if they don't do it properly, you know, in a proper Thai company with a proper shareholder structure and everything, then it's not good, right? And so that's just, you know, all the things that the authorities are cracking down on right now. And, you know, I'm obviously not a lawyer, but I have a team of lawyers that help all of our members deal with all of these kinds of things.
And I'm a member as well, by the way.
Yeah. So, you know, so the guys can call in and get advice before they make a decision on renting a condo, buying a condo. If they've gotten themselves in some kind of hot water, they can get advice on that. And we try to do as much as we can under the membership. Sometimes we'll do a little bit extra. But, you know, if that can't be done, then there is going to be a charge, but our members get a discount of up to 25% off of legal fees.
Okay, that's good. And as I say, there'll be a link in the description. So to end the video, I think what we agree on is don't try to stay here long term on visa exempt tourist visa, because you are taking a big risk. And once you're deported, you go on a blacklist, don't you?
Yeah, well, if you get caught, well, no, it's a little bit different, okay? So being refused entry is not like, you know, being deported or be on a blacklist.
Right.
So when you get refused entry, and by the way, it can be appealed, but nobody wants to go through that hassle to appeal being refused entry unless you have a real serious reason why you need to be here, right? But generally, right, being refused entry will just put your name in the system as a record, which means that you might get scrutinized whenever you come here again. When you come back, they're going to look at you more closely. Where, you know, let's say you're on overstay, right? Okay, and you get caught. So in other words, there's a difference, right? So let's say you're on 5 days overstay, and you just make it to the airport. You fly out. Okay, no problem. You pay 500 baht per day, no blacklist. But let's say you're on 5 days overstay, and on the way to the airport, there's a road checkpoint, right? Say it's 1 a.m, you're on your way to the airport. They stop the taxi, or they stop your car that you're in, and hey, can we just take a look at your passport? If that happens and they notice, or let's say you're in a nightclub and they do a check, you know, in Patty, this happens all the time. They check your passport sometimes when they come in and make sure there's no drugs being used in the club. I've
actually been stopped in a taxi and searched at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
A couple of years ago, but it has happened. Yeah, and obviously nothing happened.
But if you know, if that happens to you and you're on even a 1 day overstay, that's it. You're still going to be arrested. You're still going to be put through the court system, and then you're going to be blacklisted and deported.
So just to be clear, so even if you're just 1 day over, and they do a check in a nightclub and they see you're 1 day over, they will actually arrest you and take you to jail and put you through the court system.
They just look at it as simply as you broke the law and you're on overstay. So that's why we always get these questions, okay? Me and my partner Mark at One Stop Visa, we get these questions all the time. Oh, the extension's 1,900 baht. I'm only staying for 5 more days. Do I really have to do it? I don't want to go waste money. I don't want to go to immigration and waste my day, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It's 1,900 baht. Just go get the extension, have peace of mind. You know, maybe nine times out of 10, probably nothing would have happened to you. But just that one time that something can happen, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I was going to say, it's for me, it's just unbelievable that people will take a risk for the sake of 1,900 baht and an afternoon. It doesn't take all day.
Well, you know why? Because in the past, you know, these overstay rules weren't so strict. You know, and now they brought out those blacklist laws a few years ago, right? So you know, you're automatically 5 years. You know,
what's the time frame? Sorry to interrupt you, but what's the time frame on the blacklist? Like you're not allowed back into the country for a year, 2 years.
I'll give you an example. Okay. So if you leave on overstay and you're past 90 days, okay. So let's say you're 4 months overstay and you just leave. Okay, so that I believe is a 1 year blacklist.
You can't come back for 1 year.
Yeah. But let's say you're arrested. And I believe the minimum's 5 years.
Wow.
If you're within that same time frame, right? So just like you said before, the guys are used to what it used to be like here, and so they just think that nothing's changed, even though they've got these rules. They think that the Thai government's not serious about these things. And sometimes it may appear that way, but actually it's not.
No.
Especially now.
I can remember when you could overstay and it really wasn't a problem because when you went to the airport, it was 500 baht a day. So if in that scenario that you said, I've only got 5 days, instead of going to immigration, you think, well, it's going to be 2,500 baht, I'll just pay it at the airport.
Yeah, and that's okay to do it. But the problem is if you get caught on the way there. And you know, some guys will say, I've done it 7 times and I've never been caught. And then I know the guy that's only done it once and got caught, right? So you can't, it's just like saying like, well, you know, I've traveled here 10 times in a year on visa exemption and I've never ever been asked to prove anything. They've let me in, you know, I'm 55, I don't want to get a retirement visa. So they're just like, you know, I'm just going to keep doing this because they never had a problem. But eventually at some point in the future, they will start to be questioned. And so I just want to give them what they need to do to prepare for that. Sure. And then, you know, the Thai government is getting serious about this and they would just prefer that, you know, if you're a retiree over 50 and you want to come here 6 or 7 times a year, they really would like you to be on a retirement visa. You don't have to be here the full 12 months to be on a retirement visa. And if you're under 50, that's the most difficult thing. So, you know, if you're here studying Thai really, or studying Muay Thai really, or you're under 50 and you want to marry a Thai girl, so you're here in that capacity, then you've got the proper visa.
So if somebody's watching this video and they think, hey, that's a good idea, I do actually want to learn Thai, I'm not going to just use it as an excuse to stay in Thailand, but I want to learn Thai. Is there a minimum time frame, like say they get a 1-year visa to learn Thai, is there so many hours they have to do a week or a month? Or?
Well, yeah, I don't remember exactly what it is, I'm sorry, but so normally for a 1-year studying of Thai language, right, so you have a year visa, but every 3 months they generally ask you to go back to immigration and do the extension and maybe do a little test. Right, that's generally what it is, right? And sometimes you can go to an agency and you can kind of have the more flexible situation given to you or offered to you. But at the end of the day, when you have that situation, you have to be careful because, like I said, guys on ED visas will think that they can just travel in and out of the country during that year, and they just can't. The officer's going to catch on. You're supposed to be studying in school. How come you're traveling in and out of the country? So you just got to be wary of those things. So what we can do and what anybody can do, if it doesn't have to be Thai legal practice, it could be any agent. You can sit down with them and they can give you an option to choose and you can decide if that's what you want to do or not.
And it's really important to let people know that if you're on a retirement visa, you have to get a multiple entry visa if you want to go out and come back again. You want to go home once a year or whatever, because they will cancel the...
Yeah, so, you know, so you get your initial retirement visa, right? And then you get what's called an extension of stay based on retirement.